let's get straight stuck into it. So as always, before we do, I just want to warm you up. And this is something that I can tell you, I guarantee most of you are either suffering from this or will have suffered from this in the past. And that is, you want to know, how do you buy a home that you can afford, that is right for you, and that will add long-term value to your life without making a mistake? So it's simple, but how many of you can relate to that? You know, can I afford it? Is it right for me? Is it actually going to add long-term value? I don't want to make a mistake, right? That is the number one problem, and that is what is holding us back, either from upgrading, downsizing, buying our first home, whatever it is. And I'm not going to solve that for you today, but I want to really work through a bit of a solution and a framework as to how you can get these building blocks and these key pillars so that you can deliver and that you won't be struggling so much. You will have the confidence to know that you are not going to make a mistake. So it's not going to happen today, but think about these three pillars, all right? Number one is find. You've got to find that right home. Now, that's what we all think about. But when we talk about find, it's not so much just going out and looking for a home. You know, you've got to think, is it the right home for the location? Is it right for your lifestyle? You know, is it right in terms of the time that you need to invest in? If you're going to do a renovation, do you actually have time to do a renovation? If it's an investment property, is it the right type of property, the right configuration for that location? So really, really key there. The second thing that you've got to do, okay, number two, is finance, all right? One of the great things about investing in property is it's one of the few assets that you can easily and readily use what we call other people's money. So whether that be, from a bank, from friends, family, mum, dad, wherever it is, but you've got to understand how much money you need, how much you can get access to, and what it will actually cost you and how that will move going forward. And you've got to continually optimize that throughout your investment period. And number three is manage. So, most people think about managing, it's my own home, I don't need a property manager. Well, it's more than that. Sure, if it's an investment property, do you need a property manager? Are you going to self-manage? But, if it's your own home, you've got to think, how am I going to take care of the repairs and maintenance? How am I going to handle, any of the council rates, taxes? How am I going to manage, going through, making changes to it? How am I going to make sure that it continues to deliver for my family and my lifestyle? So these are the three key pillars that you need to be across, and you put all three of them together. And it doesn't matter where you are in that life cycle, in that stage, whether you're looking to buy your first home, you've got multiple investment properties, upgrading, perhaps even downsizing. These three key pillars, you've got to put them together, and you've got to do it over and over and over. So you're constantly looking at them, constantly fine-tuning. It might seem obvious when we talk about finance. We've been talking for at least the last 18 months about how good the interest rates have been, looking at locking in a fixed rate. But you don't just do things like that. You've got to be constantly optimizing. Can you take some equity out and buy perhaps that first investment property? Likewise, with managing your property, is this right for my lifestyle? Should I change things here? Finding the property, you might already own the property, but is it optimal? Is it the right property for that location? Should you be making it, expanding, doing a renovation, getting bigger? So these three key pillars, you've got to work in unison, and you've got to be across each of these. So this framework is what we're going to be going through today, what we do every week, and is what we want you to focus on and to think about. And these are going to help you get past your fear of, can I afford it? Is it right for me? Is it going to deliver long-term value? And making a mistake on one or all of those three key propositions. So just remember, you've got to think about these three things, understand the framework, apply it to your life, and how you might move forward. And I guarantee you'll get past that fear of making a mistake. All right. So before we get into what we're going to go through today, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, you might be thinking, who is Salvo? Who am I? What's going on? Well, here at Salvo, we do a lot of different things. We've got a ton of different businesses, but ultimately, we've got one key goal across all of our businesses, and that is we're all about helping you create a home. So as I said before, it doesn't matter where you are in that life cycle or where you are in your stage in that journey. You can be a first home buyer right all the way through to a seasoned investor. Everything we go through today, what we do, will be relevant to every person on the line today, and it doesn't matter where you are in that stages. So as I said, focus, think about it. We do obviously have different focuses each week, So some things, may be less relevant to you, but that doesn't mean that the following week we won't be doing some really key things. So when we get towards the end, I will let you know what we're going to be doing next week, so you can make sure that you'll want to join us. All right, so how's the framework of today's session going to go? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to be breaking it down into 3 key parts, okay? The first part is what we call the weekly news roundup. It's a challenge I've set myself, and that is to give you what's been happening in the last 7 days in less than 90 seconds. I think last week I just made it. I'm going to try better. And it's really just some thought starters for ideas that you might have, you want to know more about. As always, put any questions that you've got into the Q&A, or if you're watching us on Facebook, drop it in the comments. It doesn't matter if it's not live. We will monitor and get back to you. And obviously, if you've got any ideas of certain topics or things that you want us to get in depth and explain, feel free to put them in the comments. So section 2, this is the main section of what we'll be doing today, and we'll break it down into a number of key subsections. So this is where we're going to take you in depth. We're going to take you behind the scenes and really sort of, peel back all the different layers on some of the key specific topics, and really try to give you a bit of a better in-depth understanding of them, as well as some of the key challenges and how you might get through them. Now, each of these subtopics in here are going to be based around that 3-pillar framework that I talked about: you find, finance, and manage. So today we're going to be talking about location. We're also going to be talking about some of the opportunities when it comes to finance, and incentives that are available to help you leverage and use other people's money. Section 3, we're going to wrap up and we're going to explain to you what is next, and how you can move forward if you got value out of today, how you might be able to fast track going forward. So do hang in right to the end. If you do have to drop off early, that's okay. We will make the recording of this available shortly on YouTube as well. Okay, so that's it for how we're going to go. As I said, this first section, I'm going to give you the roundup of what's been happening around the countryside and why I think it's important to you. And I'm going to do it with this little clock here. We'll be running through the 90 seconds I've got. I think I've got it this week. So let's get stuck into it. I'm going to hit start on the timer and we are away. All right. So there's 5 key themes I've seen happening this week. The first one is regional homes boom. Is it finally coming to an end? We'll know that there's been talk after talk about how good the growth has been, but are we going to finally see that wind back? Both here in Victoria and as well as New South Wales, we're now allowed to go back to the office. Masks are getting stripped back in almost all locations. So we're going to start to see that winding back. And in addition to that, are we also going to see things change because of the fact that those prices have become so expensive that it's gotten a little bit crazy? All right. Second theme is Melbourne set to take Sydney's crown in the top city stakes. So there's been a lot of talk. Obviously, population growth has been off a little bit recently in both states. But if and when Melbourne becomes a bigger city than Sydney, what does that mean for the property market? Well, we're going to need more infrastructure, more homes, and ultimately demand is going to outstrip supply, so we can see some strong price growth. How much does it cost to sell your home in Australia? It is expensive. It's important that you understand those key frameworks. Renovating versus selling. What is more important or what is more right for your lifestyle? Well, it's really important that you understand, as we said, those key frameworks and also how that might apply in terms of cost, because it isn't cheap to sell your home. All right, I've got 3 seconds to go. CBD apartment vacancies are below pre-pandemic levels. Now, I know time is up, but I just want to labour on that point for a couple of seconds. It's been tough for investors out there. I'm an investor just like you on the line today. And I tell you what, my rents are shit house at the moment. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It hasn't been great compared to what it was a couple of years ago. But finally, the vacancy rate has got down to something a bit more normal. And in fact, according to the latest stats, it's below where it was in 2019. Now, that's not going to immediately translate to rental growth. But let me tell you, once there isn't vacancy, borders are opening up, students are coming back, we should start to see, as those leases expire and get renewed or people move, we should finally start to see some rental growth happening. And that is good news for all of our investors out there, as well as any budding investors that are thinking about it. Sure, there might be some short-term pain as those of us have suffered, but rest assured, you're in for a good long-term growth in the rental market. All right, so that is it. I also wanted to touch on the auction market over the weekend. So I'll take about 5 seconds. It was about 75% clearance rate nationally, as well as in both Sydney and Melbourne. And both Sydney and Melbourne had more than 1,000 auctions. So big week, good results. And it will be very interesting to see where that keeps tracking for the rest of the year. I'm not too concerned about it, and I don't think that you should be either. All right, I did terribly. I think that was well over 2 minutes. I had confidence in myself. I lost myself somewhere there. So I apologize for those of you that were betting that I could stick to the 90 seconds. I will do better next week. So that is it for section 1. If you weren't paying attention, now is the time. I really, really implore you, put your phones on silent, turn them over, grab your sandwich, settle down, sit down, because I'm going to bring on our first guest. We're going to go through some key things, and then we're going to be going live. So this will go for about 20 minutes. So really focus and drill in. So I'm just going to move to one side for the moment, and we're going to be talking about location. So Greg's going to be joining us. So come on in, Greg. So when we talk about location, there's a couple of different ways that you can look at it. This is obviously in the find section. Now, location for some people is subjective. For others, it's quite key and factual. Now, Greg, you're making me look like shit because you're so tall. So let's sit down, and I'll feel better. So, Greg, I was just saying as you're coming on, location, it's both emotional and non-emotional. So there's no doubt that when you go somewhere, you just look, you see, you feel, and you say, this is where I've got to be. I love it. It's great. It's got everything I want. But you've got to be also careful not to get caught up in all the emotions, because there are some key things that I think you want to sort of share with everyone, that no matter what it is, you've got to focus and make sure they're there. So that location delivers over time.
So I think you're saying, James, it is subjective. People go, I need to be near my mom, I need, whatever it is. So people will look at it, but within that, it's so important that you look at some key things. So having a look at facilities. So some of these places you go, they seem beautiful, but you've got no shopping centres nearby. So you go, what have I got? Shopping, reasonable distance, good number.
Now you look like a man who's constantly spending his time at the local Westfield. So shopping centres are important for you.
Important. Supermarkets, shopping centres, things where typical things. I need to go down to the shops. It's very clear. The other thing is you look at, if you've got kids and stuff like that, schools. So some of these new places, again, they all look beautiful, but there's no schools, no infrastructure, and it will take time. So
that's where I guess, to break it down and keep it simple for people, you're sort of talking there, the difference between some of these new, housing estates that are all brand new and beautiful. And, it is hard when you go and you drive through these streets and everything's new and looks great, not to fall in love. But you're saying, it's obviously going to take a long time for that infrastructure to get built up around it, because it is a new estate. Whereas some of the inner city areas that have been around for decades and decades, 100 years, have got those cafes, got those high streets, got the schools, they've got everything.
The other thing, as you're saying, is infrastructure. So buses, trams, trains, things like that. When you're in these new locations, very rare to see that. So yes, have a look at those things, but within that framework, look at infrastructure. How are you going to get around? Are there good roads? Are there good access to freeways? Shopping centres, convenient shopping centres, schools, post office, that's all part of the ship. So look at the key elements that makes a location good.
So we talk about, having a good walk score in locations and, the 5-minute suburb that you can walk everywhere you go. But you're saying, whilst you might have most of what you want within your suburb, you also want to have access to some of the key, roads and so forth. If you are traveling out to the countryside to see your parents, if they live there or whatever.
And then the obvious thing is, when you want to get to the city, even if you're not living in the city, you want to be able to have good access to that and make sure it's not such a long commute. What I was saying to you beforehand, we always talk about, we push, location. And, I'd like the opportunity to say, where we developed, to show that we actually put our money where our mouth is.
So I assume that's why you've made it uneasy. You've made us have to start again. We've got this great map behind us. All right. Now, are you going to do your own Tom Cruise moment and jump up on the top of here and say, I love Melbourne?
I'm going to go berserk.
All right. So I'll just move to the side. So hopefully everyone can see this coming through here. So, Greg, perhaps identify, this is, I guess, Melbourne, South Bank, and we're heading north.
Yep.
So show us where are some of our buildings located, and perhaps you can tell people.
Even before I get to that, what I want to do is when I've been overseas many times talking about what we do.
Yep.
And when you're overseas, people don't know where, they just go Melbourne, they've got no idea. So when you look at it generally, Melbourne is a pretty big area. But I always say, if you're going to be in Melbourne, or specifically South Bank, be what we call the Golden Triangle.
Yep.
What we call the Golden Triangle, we're talking about, you can see it quite clearly there. There's the top of the triangle, coming back here and reversing back there. So it's a very small pocket of space. It's a triangle. Now, the reason why it's called the Golden Triangle, it ticks all the things we've been saying. So in terms of public transport, there's a tram stop right there.
Yeah.
A tram stop right there. So that links you north and south to the beach. And that's one of the things you can get to. That's another one. Tram is right over here, links you to the middle of the city and the top of the city. You then got entertainment over here, Crown Entertainment. You've got Woolworths and stuff here. But besides that, just on this side over here, which we'll talk about in a second, is the south. So pointing out our buildings.
Now, is that even a McDonald's sign I can see there?
There's a McDonald's over here. So, a lot of guys, if you're a McDonald's fan, you are happy or you're in trouble. Okay, so you're either going to be big and fat, or if you have a very fast metabolism, you'll be in heaven, because you can literally walk across the road. You're at McDonald's. You've got a fuel station here, on ramps to the freeways right there. You don't get that in the rest of Melbourne. Yes, you might get a tram stop. Yes, you might get a train, but you're not going to get all of these things right on your doorstep.
And so, Greg, can you just point out where's the CBD in terms of
CBD? You can see the river. So that's CBD. Just the other side of the river is North Bank.
Yep.
Okay, that's how I refer to it when I go overseas. The CBD is North Bank.
Yep.
And we develop in the South Bank of the Yarra, which is still part of the CBD, but just on the other side of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so to give some of the listeners who perhaps aren't locals in Melbourne a bit of an idea here, we just had the tennis. So can you sort of point the direction of tennis? And
it's literally there.
Just over there. Okay. And so you can catch a tram, you can walk.
You could walk. It'll probably take you 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because but you could just jump on tram 58. We'll take you to Flinders Street Station, and one stop down, you get off at Richmond Station, and you at the footy, you at the tennis, you at the rugby. Everything is literally on the doorstep here.
Yeah. Okay. And then Crown, obviously, to perhaps help people, Crown is great for this area, but it's, for some people, and I know definitely when I moved to Melbourne, I thought of Crown as just a casino where you go and gamble, but it's actually so much more than that.
I've even stopped. I remember people saying, stop referring it to Crown casinos. You can hear I speak funny. I'm from South Africa. So when I first got here, I thought Crown was a casino. Crown is so much more than just a casino. It's a Crown entertainment center. So you've got bowling. We played putt-putt, we call it putt-putt. Mini golf. You've got cinemas. You've got restaurants. You've got clothing. It's a whole experience, Crown. It's Crown. And yes, the casino is there. So it's part of the entertainment, but it's a holistic entertainment center. It's not just a casino.
And so I guess that's part of where you were talking, these established areas that have had, decades and decades and potentially 100 years to build up these areas, to create the infrastructure, create the local cafes, create these entertainment precincts, the sporting grounds and everything. They don't just happen overnight.
No. And what's really happened with this area as well, you look at it, it's now becoming a family-oriented area. You've literally got a new school down here, primary school. So it's not just high schools and, big flash, private schools.
Yeah.
You've actually got local government school just opened down the road. So the whole place is now changing. Everybody goes, well, hang on, schools are here, entertainments, I can take the kids to the movie. The parks, we'll get about Albert Park, literally jumping on tram number 12 down 5 minutes at Albert Park. It's amazing. And then, pointing out majority of the buildings you see here. So these are all what we've done.
Yep.
So it's sticking to what we've talking about, location. We've stuck by what we believe in, and this is an amazing location. You also, literally on the border of South Melbourne. And people have probably heard about the amazing South Melbourne market. And when we talked about going off site, two of our very good friends are down there to try and give us an understanding of what this is all about. And
do you think they're eating at the moment, or you reckon they're ready for us?
I think that he's probably grilling something or hugging somebody or doing something amazing down there. So I don't know if you guys are there. We can cut across to go and say hi to Lucas at South Melbourne. Give you an idea how amazing it is. Literally a few minutes just this way is what you've got on your doorstep.
All right, Lucas, Jack, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
We've got you. Greg, come sit down. We're just cheating a little bit, everyone. And those of you that remember last time I crossed over to Greg and Kesh, I couldn't see anything. So Greg's got it up on his iPad. All right.
Okay. Can you hear me loud and clear?
We got you coming loud and clear. We can see you in
Beautiful.
the sunshine.
So actually, you can actually see behind me the city behind me, and you can see 109 Clarendon, the Bank of Palmers, the Palladium Tower, the Platinum Tower. You can actually see our towers directly above my left-hand side. So we're outside the market. I'm just going to walk you through a little bit. It's only a Wednesday. There are amazing vibe, people everywhere. So I just want to show you a little bit of what South Melbourne market got to offer. And it's not just what we see outside, but I will cross live shortly inside, so I can give you a little bit more, you can see a little bit more of the vibe and what the markets are offering, from sushi to the very famous South Melbourne dim sims. There's people everywhere here.
Lucas,
this
sorry,
is where you want to be. Yeah?
Just ask a question there.
Yes.
A lot of people sort of talk about it being the CBD and it sort of being lots of buildings and concrete and so forth. But I'll tell you what, that looks like, you're in as big a family orientated area as you could possibly be. Like there were people all ages. I mean, that looked pretty much like a big buzzing vibe for, what is it, a Wednesday lunchtime?
If I just told you now I was in the busiest street in the CBD, you would have believed me. I mean, literally there's hundreds, if not thousands of people everywhere around us. And like you said, James, it's only a Wednesday, just after midday.
Now, so, how many meals are you going to be eating there today? I'm sure you guys had a pre-live meal, and you're going to have a post meal as well. Perhaps show us some of the great places.
Exactly. So what we'll do is we'll come live in about 2 minutes. Let me walk inside and continue showing you around this amazing place.
All right. Well, Greg and I will just chat a little bit here while you move over. So, Greg, it's good to sort of see some of these things live. I mean, I know that people that perhaps have lived out, in some of the quieter suburbs have a bit of a funny thing about being in the city, thinking, oh, look, it's got no vibe, it's got no life.
Concrete jungle, it's not.
That's like
And we talked about also just a little bit further south is Albert Park. Now, quite often I just go down there to have a break. You sit there, you just feel like you wouldn't know that you're actually in the city. You've got the swans there, you've got the ducks there.
Tell the truth, you do about 100 push-ups.
I do 100 bloody push-ups there. I try and the F1, I mean, I'm a bit of a petrol head, as James knows. I love fast cars, I love noisy cars, things like I hate fire engines. But everything is on your doorstep. So you're going in here, you go, oh, you're in the concrete. No, you're not in the concrete jungle. South Melbourne, these places, they're leafy, they're trees. They've got beautiful Albert Park. You've got South Melbourne Market on your doorstep. It's not, the city living is not what people think it is. It's actually a lot nicer.
Yeah. So to give an idea for context as well, where you were sort of pointing the golden triangle, how long does it take you to walk to these markets?
Oh, that's 5 minutes. So South Melbourne Market is right over here. You've got there's some bigger shoppings there as well. So on our developments, we've got a ground floor Woolworths. However, if that's not going to give you what you want, you literally walk 5 minutes and you've got a full scale Woolworths, Coles, Aldi, all these places, Spotlight, big gyms again.
Yeah.
Everything's right here on your doorstep. And then of course, Albert Park, the gardens just down here, the botanical gardens literally here as well. So it's pretty amazing.
So, you're a country boy.
Yep.
You like the idea of sort of living in the country, albeit you've moved and you've lived right here, literally a stone's throw away for a long time. Is it, how do these markets and that sort of vibe compare to, country markets? Like, people talk about it. Me, I'm lazy. If it takes more than 5 minutes to heat it up in the microwave, I'm not interested. But for most people, they love the idea of fresh food and so forth.
Well,
how does that compare to the sort of country markets?
Well, country markets you've got to drive to. Okay.
Yep.
So some people like the drive, like going for a bit. However, as you're saying, some of us are lazy. It's so much easier. You park your car. You literally walk park, as you say, South African. You literally walk across the place here. You can get a food cook. You can get a meal cooked for you. There's a great seafood place. It's a lot easier, and you've got the markets that you would get in the country in any case. So you're getting that here.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. I think I can see in small. Can you see the guys? Lucas, Jack,
Lucas.
are you guys?
Yes,
back?
yes, we're here. We're here. We're just walking inside the market, trying to decide whether we're going to have a pie. I don't know. The decisions here, I'm very, I don't know which way to go here, guys, to be honest. The options are amazing. Banana, I see what I'm going for. Come with me, Jack. Come with me. This is where we're going to stop today. So we're going to have a fish today. I think we're going to go seafood, guys. And just around the corner here is my favorite corner of the market. Somewhere right about here. It's either going to be they cook it for you as well. So it's either going to be
I'll take a serving of king prawns, please.
Lobster
you
for
also
me.
got,
Lobster for me.
and look at this. We're talking about oysters. If you want oyster selection, guys, this is it. You're not going to find a better, a fresher, and a larger selection than this spot right here. So as much as I love to sit around and chat with you guys, looking at all these foods making me hungry, and I'm going to go sit down with my friend Jackie and enjoy a nice lunch.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Make sure you get us something. We expect you to come back, I don't know, within 3 hours. Bring us some food, some drinks, some cheeses, oysters. I know the girls here are already jumping for joy behind the camera with the excitement of you bringing in a selection of oysters. So enjoy yourself, dig in, and thanks a lot for showing us around.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye, guys.
All right. So, Greg, let's cut to the chase.
Yep.
Right. You've sold everyone on the line today. They're running over themselves to go and get Lucas to buy them some lunch over in the markets. They like the idea of the Golden Triangle.
Yep.
But now that they're sold on it, and they want to move forward and say, yes, okay, let's buy something, let's buy in this area or whatever the areas that they love and feels got everything that you said it should have. What are the incentives or what assistance is there out there? Particularly anything that might have a short life, if people are thinking about it, that's available to help them, go forward. And how do they actually get a hold of this?
Key things. First one, stamp duty. Okay, so it's a big cost, and whenever you buy a property, there's a transaction fee, which is stamp duty, which the government takes. Right now, there's some really good incentives. Whether you're an investor, which those incentives were taken away a few years ago. Those incentives are back. So as a person buying, even if you owned the previous property, you can get a 50% reduction on your stamp duty on the basis you're buying something new, i.e. what we've got over here. So we're selling something new, you get a 50% reduction. If you're a first homeowner, there's certain thresholds, and we can go through that to you. We're happy to go through all those details. You could end up paying no stamp duty. So stamp duty is a huge saving. So that's one of the key things that you're going to get.
So I just want to give you some numbers because Greg's glossed over it, I think, and we're talking big dollars here. Let's say we're talking the average price, $700,000, for example. So stamp duty is 5.5%, okay? So that's $38,500, right? That's not the same as the door fee you pay to get into your favorite nightclub or, the entree at your favorite restaurant. That is a big chunk of money. I mean, that's more than half a deposit.
So James, that's why I was saying it's such a career. That's the one I first started. It was whether you're an investor, whether you're a first homeowner, that's a massive saving getting into an area like this where you're buying something.
So at that 50% off, you're talking almost $20,000.
That's a lot of
I
money.
mean, that is a lot. You know, that's a new car you can get as well.
And when you're talking about saving for your deposit, that actually really reduces that level because you've now got that saving.
Okay, and that's available to anyone.
Anyone.
To get 50% off the stamp duty, they
On
just
the
have to
basis,
buy in
it's got to be
the suburb
new.
of Melbourne and
Correct.
brand new.
And brand new.
Okay,
Correct.
so never
that's-
lived in before.
So not somewhere as we call whoop whoop, there. Okay.
Got it.
And then you get it.
All right.
Now, if you're a first homeowner as well, you can get a grant. So there's a $10,000 grant. So in the top of this is another 10 grand that the state government
Yep.
offers to buy into a new building as well.
Okay. So you could save 20 grand, get 10 grand. So far you've got us 30 grand.
30 grand.
All right. What else you got in the kitty for
Okay.
us?
So we've talked about also saving for a deposit. There's a few other incentives, for instance, they're what they call the first home buyers deposit scheme. So what that literally does, all you need, and there's certain criteria, and I won't get into, but not a lot, long as you're an Australian, even though I speak funny, I'm an Australian, but you've got to be an Australian, and there's certain other criteria. You can buy a house with as little as 5% deposit, and the government stands as surety, so there's no home mortgage insurance to assist you getting into a new property.
Okay. So that's effectively, you know, for any of our first home buyers on the line that might be struggling to save a deposit or thinking that, how do I get there earlier?
Yep.
As I mentioned at the start, this is where we can leverage other people's money.
Yes.
And who better than the government's
The
money?
government money.
I'll tell you what, you don't have to be, you know, an anti-government person like someone that we know to know that that's a good thing to be able to use other people's money, particularly the government money. So that's a great scheme. All right, what else you
The other
got?
one is a similar scheme, but it's if you've already owned a home,
Yep.
it's for single parents, and I'm pleased that it's male and female. So whether you're a single parent, you can actually get into by as little as a 2% deposit. So the government again puts in the guarantor for that balance of that deposit that's required to get into that home.
Okay. So that's really, I guess, those two schemes are really thinking about that sort of cohort of people that perhaps might be thinking home ownership is out of their reach and that it's never going to happen.
Yep.
And I think that's great that we can actually have something that that supports those people and helps them get in, you know, at the ground level.
And then the third one is what they call the first home super saver scheme. So what is it? Where you've made voluntary, I won't get into too deep, but voluntary contributions to your super, you are allowed to draw with certain limits that money back to use it to buy into a property.
Okay. So if we add all these up, we're at tens, we're potentially hitting $100,000 worth of savings or incentives that are out there and available.
To get something new,
Yep.
something that's in the great location, and we encourage you to have a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the key takeaway from this for me definitely is that if you think you're not ready yet, or you think you can't afford it, there is a ton of help out there, you know, financial and obviously non-financial, but particularly the things Greg's gone through that, you know, it's really worth understanding them because that can help you weigh up your decision as to where you are in timing. There are also some of the intangibles you've got to think about when you're thinking in terms of location. You know, it doesn't mean that you should just pick a particular location because of the incentives, because often, you know, the incentives are perhaps not worth going to a particular area, but in some instances, they really turbocharge and add where you're going to. And like Greg said, to be able to be in a location like this and save half the stamp duty, you know, 20, 30, 40 grand is a big amount that you can save.
And for instance, just recently, I was talking to one of our first homeowners this morning that's looking at that 5% sort of thing.
Yep.
In-house, we can assist you, you know, because you've got to do that through a bank. So you come and talk to us. We have a brokerage as well that can help you and go through all the different and assist you with getting those sort of loans.
All right, great.
Okay.
Greg, anything else you want to share with them?
I'm done.
Any final? You're done? All right. Thank you, my friend. That was good. So hopefully everyone, you really enjoyed that. You know, again, this is just part of our new format that we're trying to get into and really trying to add some value to you and give you a bit more, you know, targeted insight into some of these areas. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed that. And next week, we will be talking about, I cannot tell you, because I didn't do my research and have a look before I came, but I'm sure it'll be great. And we'll post something on social media so that you know what the upcoming topics are. All right. Now, as I said, if you got value out of today, don't do what most people do. Okay. And what most people will do is they will switch off, they'll go about their ordinary life, and they will not think about what they need to do to move forward. So, let's not forget, this is probably the last time I can show this, because some of you will still be living in the past of 2021. It's a new year, it's 2022. It's time to clear the decks of all the negativity that you've had, all of the failings that you've had, and focus on the successes that you've had and how you can continue to deliver on those successes this year. So the way that I see it is there's a couple of ways that you can go from here. All right. Now, the number one and the easiest way, and what I know most of you will do, all right, it's sad, but what most of you will do is you'll do nothing. Okay. Now, what do I mean by doing nothing? Well, you're not going to make any changes. So if you're sitting there saying, yes, I want to buy that home. Yes, I want to get that investment property. Yes, I want to downsize, or whatever it is, and you've been thinking that for a while and you still haven't done it, well, then don't expect to get a different result if you don't make a change. And that's what I mean by doing nothing. All right. I'm not calling you lazy. I'm not going there. What I'm just trying to say is that you need to make those changes if you want to get a different outcome. All right. So unfortunately, most of you are going to do that. But for those of you that are prepared to make some changes, I want to implore in you that at a bare minimum, think about what we've discussed today, have a look back at some of our past episodes and some of the key topics that interest you, and take on board those teachings and those learnings and go out there and make those changes yourself. But what I really, really hope that some of you do is you take an alternative path, path B, and do it with us. Let us help you. That's what we love doing. That's why we're here today. That's why you're here today, to hear from us, to get more insight. So, as Greg was saying before, we've got a number of different businesses within Salvo that can help you across those three key pillars that we talked about, finding, financing, and managing. So do it with us, because that is how you'll get the best results and you'll get the fastest results, and you'll be able to make sure that you don't suffer from that fear that you're going to make a mistake. So it's not going to be for everyone, okay? So we do expect that you've got to be prepared to actually take action, roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty. You've got to understand this concept of actually being able to create knowledge and understanding that you can find those key indicators out there. You can understand what's happening yourself and translate that into what's important for you so that you can take actions and actually go out there and deliver and get what you want. So if that sounds like you, or you're even on here right now, then that's probably right for you. So how do we do it? Well, it's very hard as to how I can give you a guarantee that I can deliver value, given how little I know about you at the moment. So I see names, I see some faces, I see some cameras, I see some questions and comments coming through, but ultimately we know very little about you at the moment. So I've thought long and hard about this, and the best way that we can move forward, and I can guarantee that you will get value, is to ask you to commit to 15 minutes of your time to meet up one-on-one with someone from my team to discuss where you are right now, what you're hoping to do, where you are in that journey. We'll have a good chat. We'll just sort of run through. You can meet with us face-to-face. You can do it over the phone. We can do it on Zoom, however it best suits your life, your lifestyle, and your time. Really, we want to just get to know a little bit more about you. We can straight away give you a couple of key things that you can do. You can take away from that catch up, and you can go out there and immediately implement them and see changes. So I guarantee you we can at least make some successful changes for you just by catching up in that short period. But when we know a bit more about you, we can identify, how we can help you, which part of our businesses are best suited for you, and really set together a bit of a plan as to how we can go and achieve those goals and ultimately smash them harder and faster and quicker and better than you could have done by yourself. So if that sounds like something for you, and you want to take me up on that guarantee, because I'm only asking you to invest 15 minutes of your time, how do you do it? Well, it's really simple. There's 3 ways that you can do it, okay? Number 1 is if you're on Zoom, there should be a link in the chat. Also, your web browser should have been redirected to that booking page. If you're on Facebook, I think the link is on our homepage or it's somewhere there. We'll drop it in the comments after if it's not. And third, if you did register for this, I'll send you a follow-up email with that link. So if you don't have your diary with you, or you're not sure, or you want to catch up with your partner first and you want to come and do that session together, then I will send you that link so you've got that for safekeeping in your emails. So jump on, as I said, and book one of those because they do go out fast, and we really want to deliver value and help those people that are prepared to help themselves. Now, before I let you go, I just want to give you a little story about a trip that I had. It was in July last year. So those of you that have been here before will recognise this is Hamilton Island. This is my daughter here. I've just stepped to one side so you can see the joy in her face. Now, we went there during the lockdown and, you know, it was a great holiday and it was a great part of the world. But Isabella said to me, she said, "Dad, I'd love to go and see the sunrise." And I thought, that'd be great. Good, we'll do that tomorrow morning. So what I did that night, looked up when the sun would rise. It was very, very early, set my alarm and went to sleep. What seemed like 30 seconds later, that annoying iPhone alarm that we all know and hate went off. It was beep, 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 beep. What did I do? I did what most of you do all the time, and I hit the snooze button. All right? It was easy. You know how easy it is to hit that big button snooze instead of the stop and wake up. So 8 minutes later, it went off again. And I hit the stop button and I was about to roll over and go back to bed. And I thought to myself, no, get up because you know you'll have fun. And it wasn't easy because it was cold. I didn't feel like it. Isabella didn't want to get up. She was getting angry with me, but I shook her. I woke her up. We got dressed. We ran to the top of this hill and we got this amazing photo. You can see the joy on her face. And it was a really, really great experience. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is what I learned from this is it's the people that are prepared to make the tough choices, that are prepared to actually take those actions when everyone else is still in bed, sleeping, resting on the snooze, that actually get these great moments. You know, this is something that I will have for the rest of my life. Those of you with kids that are growing up and becoming teenagers, you'll know that it's a very short window that you get to have the joy with your children where they actually love you and they want to spend time with you and not saying, "Dad, you're embarrassing." So that was a great memory that I've had and I'll love it. And it's things like this that you will also get to enjoy if you do take the action. You know, you do get out there and do things even when you don't feel like it. And so particularly when it comes to your home journey, I know for most of you, you're switching off now or you're not thinking or focusing, but think about it. If you want to make some changes, you want to get that home earlier, you need to actually do what isn't easy, do what's difficult, step out of your comfort zone, book one of those sessions with someone on my team and start that journey to getting to that end result faster and faster. That is it. Thank you very much for your time today. Thanks to the guys off site. We probably won't see them again. Greg for being in here and of course the girls running everything behind the scenes. And most importantly, thank you to every one of you on the line today. We really appreciate your time and effort that it takes to join us. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing. So thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.